Yo, yo. Welcome back, guys. Happy Monday. It is Monday, and we're back here on Wolf Bitcoin with some more content. We're here with some more content. Look, we didn't have our usual trader talk space in the morning, so schedule feels a little bit off. But we are going to jump into that after this stream. So we do have the trader talk coming up here at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Eastern time. So, yeah, what's up? We got Darren Does Things already hanging out with us. What's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Hopefully, you had a good weekend. Did you watch the World Cup final? How'd uh how'd that play out for you? Like how I don't know if were you rooting for either side specifically? How you feeling about all of that? Guys, as you're coming in here, if this is your first time, welcome. It's good to have you. Make sure as you're coming in, if you want to jump in the chat, don't be afraid to jump into the chat. We don't bite here. We're pretty nice. We're pretty nice folks, I think, on the wolf side. So yeah, look, I mean, as you're coming in, don't be afraid to jump in, chat, drop comment, repost, like all that good stuff. We appreciate all of that. GM. Hey, we got DeFi enthusiast. Spain, yeah, it was such a good game too. It was such a great game. Nero's GM. It was. I mean, it's kind of it's a mixed take, I guess you could say. Like it was a good game because Spain worked them. Spain worked them. It was a little bit of a bummer to see Argentina struggle as much as they did. The fact they couldn't really get any shots on goal. I mean, the whole thing was kind of crazy. A lot of rough play from the Argentina side as well, which I thought was interesting for Spain. Yeah, my kids are Spain fans, Lamine fans. So my kids loved it. They were happy. But guys, welcome back. Let's jump into this stuff. So we do these live Bitcoin and crypto market analysis shows just about every day here on Wolf Bitcoin. And we like to look at Bitcoin, stable coins. We'll look at some of the majors in the crypto space. Occasionally, we'll go into some altcoins, some low caps. We'll take chart requests, stuff like that. It just depends what's going on. We'll kind of hop between primarily, really, I think most of it is centered around chart analysis on TradingView, but we will occasionally go look at like heat maps or liquidity stuff. We'll pull up a terminal like Market Monkey and look at order flow. So we'll do some other stuff, but a lot of it is just built on just looking at some good old fashioned TradingView chart analysis and just reading and reporting on the price action, the key levels, a lot of just factual led stuff, right? Where it's like, look, this was high of last week, low of last week, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll cover all that. Huge shout out to Public for sponsoring the show. You can check them out at public.com/wolf. Go see that custom Wolf and Public partnership page there. Go check them out. But if you've not taken a look at Public, they are the investing platform for those who take investing seriously. So it doesn't matter if you're a short-term active trader, if you're a more mid to long-term passive investor, they'll have something for you there: stocks, bonds, crypto, options, AI tools to help you really build a pretty robust portfolio there and to automate a lot of strategies. So go check that out. If you value what AI is doing and you think there's an opportunity for AI to maybe give you a little bit of edge when it comes to your strategies that you're currently doing, if you're just, everything's discretionary for you at the moment where you're just kind of making decisions, go check out Public and see if some of the AI tooling available there maybe is an advantage to you. So again, check them out, public.com/wolf. But let me pull up TradingView here. Give me a sec, guys. Hopefully all of this is going to behave. Yes, it looks like it is going to behave. So good to see it when it does. All right. Perfect. 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 So look, we'll pull this up here. Not on this window though. We'll do it on this one here. There we go. There we go. All right. Both of these are working. Beautiful. 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 Good stuff. All right, guys. Let's take a look at what's happening here. Really quickly, I'm going to take a look at the indices here. Some of these bigger ones, VIX and DXY, are still looking okay. So mainly just looking for any kind of like erratic behavior here is primarily what I look for. S&P and Nasdaq are still kind of just chopping away. Still very much range bound, in my opinion. You've got clear highs on both, clear lows that they're kind of working towards. NQ is a lot closer to that low than ES. ES is holding up pretty well. DXY, same thing. We're just kind of looking for any erratic behavior here. It's been chopping at about that $100 or so level here. Essentially, as long as we don't see like a big pump or a big dump, there's not a whole lot to spend time here looking at this. Definitely some higher time frame trends, but we're not going to get into some of that stuff just yet or on this episode specifically. And then as far as volatility, just looking if there's any big drops or spikes in volatility, or if there's a trend emerging that's maybe leading us to believe that there could be volatility. A lot of people think it's tied to a direction, such as like a volatility spike automatically means things have to crash. Volatility is volatility. You can see a spike of volatility and it not necessarily define which way the market has to go. But you do tend to see some long-term trends here on volatility, where we have noticed that crypto does prefer that this stays here at about this kind of midpoint, maybe even a little bit lower. And typically, when you get the big spikes, you get buying opportunities. You get some pretty interesting opportunities that tend to present themselves on those spikes. So it's a bit of like a lag effect where people see the spike and then they think it has to go much lower. Usually, that spike is already creating the dip that we're supposed to take advantage of. Much like death crosses, golden crosses, and stuff like that we've seen in the space, right? Where people say, "Oh, there's a golden cross." Yeah, most of the move is already done by then. Same thing with like, "Oh, we got a death cross." Yeah, most of that move is also already done. So, looking at BTC, let's go out to the quarterly. So, we've been kind of covering it from a high time frame down to the low time frame, and still looking okay. Beginning of this quarter and this month did sweep the low of the last month and last quarter, and it's just slowly been kind of working its way up into the previous month and previous quarter range. We can see here that in terms of last month, here, let's put some of this stuff away. I forgot I had that. Hold on. Oh, I didn't mean to delete it. I meant to hide it. In terms of last month, we are already we're at the 50% mark. We're at about the 50% of last month's move. So last month had a high up here at 74K, and then we had the low at 58K for last month. And so we're already at 65,600, which means we are right at that like 50% mark. We're actually right at it. We're at 65.6. Like, we're right at that 50%, which is pretty cool. So we're exactly 50% there. If we look at this on a weekly basis, I'm going to hide this as well just to clean it up a little bit. On a weekly basis, a lot of wick to the downside recently here in the last couple weeks, and including this current week. Lot of wickage to the downside, but overall printing higher highs, slightly higher highs here. So we are still working our way up a little bit higher. It is significant though to call out that if you're looking at BTC, we are basically here at these lows. We are back at these big lows from March of last year. So we're basically running into that here. you know, it's reasonable to suspect that this could be resistance. It could be an area that, you know, it's going to take a little bit. We're either going to need a big catalyst to push us up and through it with some kind of volume and momentum, or it could just take multiple hits where, you know, it's got to kind of consolidate here for a little bit, build up some strength, and then try and push up just through sheer stubbornness and willpower. So we'll see how that ends up playing out. 70K waiting room. I'm right there with you. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I've been of the opinion, right? Like I've had the little meme going on where it's like 72 before 55, 72 before 55. So, yo, trade decision, GM, welcome. So we've had that opinion. We've been saying here off of the lows that we were looking for a move up into the 70s. We'll see if we get it. So far, this is looking okay. Look, I think midterm to longer term, this is very likely to get swept at some point. It's very likely the market comes down and takes some liquidity that's building up here. Just the way it works. But it doesn't mean it has to happen today. Does, you know, it could happen this week, next week. Like, I don't really know when. You know, and no one really knows. But right now, look, I think things are looking good. Things are looking okay. This is wanting to push a little bit higher up here. So I think there's still plenty of room to the upside for this to continue pushing. Yeah, things look okay. Things look okay. We are currently at essentially the high of last week. So it is worth just calling that out. We are at the high of last week. If we see a failure here, this could just be a deviation. So basically swing failure, deviation, trap, whatever you want to call it. If we see this fail here of that last week high, this is pretty typical if it does, right? A lot of times you have your high of your range and your low of the range, and price can deviate outside of that and then move back into the range. We've seen a lot of that, a lot of that. So was kind of the case here, right? You had the highs here of these past weeks, and essentially what you saw is you got a deviation above, and it moved right back into the range, and now it's above that prior range and trying to push higher. So pretty typical stuff. You are getting higher lows in this process, but again, this type of curved structure here to the downside, this to me, like the one thing we have to just be very aware of is anytime the market is allowing longs to stick like this, right, where there hasn't been a low that is taken out a prior low. So basically, if you longed here, you're in the money and you're comfy. If you long that little pullback here, you're in the money, you're comfy. You long this one, there's been no challenges to that other than this like double bottom scenario here. But if you longed around here, you're comfy in the money. That was good. That was good. So right now the market is being nice to bulls, to long positioning. There's something to be said about this potentially building liquidity for the market to come back and take at some point. We talked a lot about that over here. As a matter of fact, we spent a good week or so where we were arguing that same fact here, right? That the fact that the market kept allowing longs to just sit comfy, what happens? Eventually that exhausts, and then the market comes down, and then all of this fuel below here, everything that gets built up below here becomes the fuel that you need for these types of drops. Just massive, fast stop run type of price action. So look, right now, again, that went significantly higher. Everyone kept thinking it was going to roll over at each of these points here, and it went higher. So this means that this can continue higher, but at some point, this is likely to get taken. At some point, this is very likely to get taken. It just could take a minute. It could absolutely take a minute to illustrate what that may look like. Why am I not seeing it? Hold on here. I'm like losing my mind. Here it is. Let's just say that I'm trying to find where there's like a decent example of what that might look like. I mean, let's just start with this. Let's start with this here. So I'm just going to say here to here. Okay. Okay. What's to say that this can't do something similar like this, right? Where it just heads higher. Again, I'm of the opinion that you do see 72, maybe even 74K for BTC before lower. But what's to say that this can't do something like that, right? Where this just works its way higher. And then at some point, all of this here, all of this liquidity that will be established and that will be sitting here becomes the exact fuel that you need for that next move down. So look, short term, near term, immediate term, I'm bullish. I think this has the potential to go higher. I think we see BTC trade up here, somewhere near up here in the coming, week, 2 weeks, something like that. More midterm after that, I do still believe there is downside coming. I'm not of the opinion that the bottom is in. I don't think that's the bear market bottom. I think there's likely more downside coming. But it doesn't have to happen this week. It doesn't have to happen immediately. So, as a matter of fact, we had placed something here a while back. Let me see if I can find it. Nope, that ain't it. Where is it? No, where the heck did I put it? Hold on, guys. Sorry. It's not that one. It's another. I don't know what we did with it. I don't know what we did with it. I had another one in here. Bars pattern. Is that it? Aha. Boom. Okay. This one, we shared it a while ago as well. So this was something that we talked maybe, I don't know. This is something we probably looked at 2-3 weeks ago, something like that. We basically had a fractal that we found from prior price action here. We, said that this potentially was looking like a channel, and we were looking for a move up to the top of the channel. This still looks to me like it's playing out pretty much spot on. Pretty much spot on. So I think this is still good. I think this is still perfectly valid. Price can continue to trend higher, likely to slow down a little bit around the 67 level, right? But overall, I think this thing trades higher. I think it looks good. And then we'll see if we do get a rejection in the 70s and price starts to come down. Pretty good chance the 58K, 57K low gets taken out. Doesn't have to be by a massive move, but it does get taken out. And then we'll see what happens after that. It could chop for a while. Ultimately, at some point, maybe one last capitulation for the low to be in. But I mean, yeah, this could happen pretty similar to that, pretty close to that. So last bull standing, says Electric. That's funny. Hey, yeah, good to see you, man. Have a good one. So we're just look, we're sticking to that so far, not seeing anything that's telling us that we need to pivot aggressively away from that. I think that's still pretty valid. I think that's still perfectly fine. So trying to see here. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 sec. Give me one second here. Yeah, here it is. Found it. Okay, 1 second. 1 second here. There it is. There's the post we made. So a few weeks ago. Yeah, June 25th. Green July, and then back to red August, and then this was that fractal that's on here right here. So not a lot's changed. We're still sticking to that. That is still a likely outcome, in my opinion. Something similar to this. Cool. Yep. Yep. Definitely did. Definitely did. Had a short hedge, and that definitely got taken, which is fine. Um, that is the whole purpose of a hedge, is in case it doesn't. We're just chilling. This could be a swing failure though, and that's the risk with positioning something with a stop above a high like that, is it can go get you out of position and then just go the other way. But look, we're long exposed to BTC off of 58,300. So right now, everything is just everything that gets put on the short side here is just a hedge, short-term hedge. I'd love the opportunity to add to that long position on a move below here, right? Below any of this. So if this were to come down, do something like that, man, that would be a beautiful opportunity to add to this position here. That's why we've kept a long bias on Ethereum, Solana. We had we got an entry on Solana down here at like 67. So far, it's looked good. Added to it on this pullback here. If they can get above here, above that previous week high, this thing's looking good. We'll move stop losses right below here, if not already there. This is looking pretty good. I think Ethereum, again, like my stance on ETH has been that I think it takes out 2,000. I think it goes above 2,000. After that, hey, it could go either way after that. But I think we at least have 2K on Ethereum. So I think that's looking okay. Solana, Solana at least 90. At least 90 on Sol. But potentially, up here, if it really gets going, it could come and take out 98 again. And then we're potentially opening up this like 100 to 140, 150-ish type of range on Sol. But it's too early to call that 100%. It probably needs to cool off. You're probably looking at it doing something like this, right? So it maybe comes up here into the 90s, probably needs a bigger, longer cool off at some point after a move like that. If this were to extend up here, take out that high, same thing. It probably just means it needs a longer, deeper cool off. And then ultimately, if it is bullish, you're going to want to be seeing if you can put in some kind of higher low here, right? But I think these are good. I think these look okay so far. So not really stressing that. I'm more bullish on lighter or hype from here on out. I think it's all situational, man. I think it depends on the chart, right? Like hype, we've been talking about the possibility that it needs to maybe correct a little bit deeper, at least 52, maybe down as low as into the 40s and maybe even high 30s. So from like a trade perspective, we haven't really seen a full breakdown on hype. That was like the sweep there and possibly the good opportunity to get short. I didn't take that. But from here, if it did sweep this one, I'd probably be willing to get into long positioning here, understanding that there is a deeper, better level just a little bit below us still. As for lighter, purely from like a trade perspective, go look at it on yeah, so far still it looks really strong. Uptrending here. Already swept previous week low here. Good chance you see some upside here on lighter after that sweep. If it were to come down and correct a little bit deeper, in my opinion, it's just an opportunity. Looks pretty good here. Let's look at that 3-day. Yeah, not a bad look. Not a bad look. If this can reclaim back into this previous week range, then this is just a deviation. And then you can at least look for it to trade back to the mid of the range, if not to the top of the range on lighter here. But this looks pretty good. At some point, though, again, at some point, if this does exhaust, right, like if this does start getting tired up here, there could be a much deeper correction coming that then fuels up and then takes it to that next leg up. So both I think are going to be big. I don't see hype going anywhere. I think both will be big. There's plenty of room in the space for multiple players, especially with all of TradFi now being able to come in for like the tokenized stocks, tokenized indices, that type of stuff. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. Took a short play on this yesterday. We'll see if this sticks. We'll see if it sticks here. This thing has just been moving. I have no idea what it is, but we took a short on it. We'll see how it ends up doing there. Litecoin. I've been seeing a lot more people talk about Litecoin. I used to be, I think I was the only one who was talking about it for a really long time. So look, Litecoin is currently getting a little bit of action. I think there's a pretty good chance we're going to see it, make a little bit more to the upside. I think it gets into the 50s at least. And then we'll see longer term if it can maybe do a little bit more. But for now, I think the 50s is kind of a good area to be watching for Litecoin here. Just seeing it come up here to the top of this range here. So you can go to Litecoin on the weekly. And if you're watching this, throw a quick little rectangle on here and just look for a move up here towards the EMAs and towards the top of this range here for Litecoin. After that, look, if it wants to continue going higher, then we'll look for what that bigger range is for Litecoin. But for now, that's pretty much what I'm watching there. I think it looks pretty good. If you were to get a pullback here, in my opinion, it's just an opportunity for it to do something like that on Litecoin. So I think LTC looks pretty good. I think it looks okay. XRP, same thing. I mean, we were talking about getting long exposed to XRP since back here, basically fishing for an entry, got a slightly deeper sweep, but overall held, and validation was down here. I think I have the setup still somewhere here. Yeah. So we were looking for this to trade higher, ended up giving one more sweep, but overall, trade was okay. And if you missed the original one, because I think this was the revised positioning here, but I think the original one had an invalidation here. So the original position was looking for something like in this area, and invalidation was down here. So we have revised that since, but overall, XRP's it's trying to go a little bit higher. It's in a interesting area here on the volume profile, so we need to be a little bit careful there. But so far that entry would have stuck. This needs to push again. Range bound. You guys know my stance, and I say this every week. But if it comes up here, you see failure at the top of the range, then I'm prepared for a move back to the middle and potentially back to the bottom of the range. If this had swept the low, it would have been the opposite, right? If this had come down here, taken the low, but then ultimately got back inside of it, then I'd say, hey, that's your deviation. You're going at least to the midpoint, if not to the range high. Clear higher lows here on XRP. This just has to maintain that. If it keeps going, this is going to be a big test area, but if it can do that and it can flip this up here, then maybe there's a little bit more in it, Maybe there's a little bit more in it. Let's zoom out here on XRP. Yeah, this is an interesting range for XRP right here. So, I don't know, at least here to $1.18, $1.20, maybe up into the 130s for XRP. Looks interesting to me. Doesn't look too bad. Does not look too bad at all. Still, though, just like with everything else, still macro downtrends. Everything is still downtrending. BTC, ETH, so all of these are still downtrending. And you've not put in a truly high time frame trend shift yet. So you just have to be aware of that. Things can look good, but things can go up and just put in a lower high. So we have to just be aware of that. Just buy hood instead of lighter hype is maybe what you're responding to. I think hood's going to do pretty good. Let's go look at hood real quick. But it doesn't mean you can't play some of the other stuff, right? If you want to have slightly more, if you've got a little bit more risk you're willing to take, you can definitely play some of the individual plays. See, I don't like that. This is the only thing that maybe concerns me a little bit here is where did I see it? Hold on here. Let me get rid of these DDT levels just to clean this up a little bit. All right, so effectively you have this, right? You have this range here, this quarterly range on hood, established by Q1 of this year, right? We've not had a move outside of the top or the high or the low. So everything's just been kind of compressed here. This can continue just kind of compressing here for a while. Ultimately, I want to see a break on either side of this. Again, a break for me. I'm not a breakout trader. So a break for me is likely to be a setup for a mean reversion or a play back to the middle, maybe all the way across. So that's how I would be thinking about that and treating that. So far, this has good energy to the upside. Current month did sweep previous month high, though. So you did get a sweep previous month high, and we're now trading below that. And if we go into, I'm going to remove that. If we go into the weekly time frame on hood, yeah, this looks like this wants to work its way lower. Where's that previous month low? So that's your previous month low there, right? So it could be working its way down somewhere inside of this range. Yeah, could even come sweep the low there. And then we have to be careful, because if it does start doing that, then these lows might not be safe. This may just be a sweep here before going lower. Let's look at that 6 month. Nah, this is still very messy on the 6 months. So I'm just going to stick to the quarterly here. Yeah, interesting sweep there, but we still have, you still have over 2 months, 2 months to go. So for now, let's see how deep it moves into that previous month range on hood. But yeah, no doubt, this is, long term, this is retail's gateway into trading and investing, and probably into crypto, for the future. What Coinbase has done, I think I don't think there's any comparison, right? Like Coinbase, although a lot of retail participants do come in through Coinbase, to them Coinbase is something separate of what they've known, right? It's something apart from what they've known. But for all of the Robinhood users, right, the fact that they could get exposure to now on-chain stuff, right, on-chain options, is massive. There's a lot of Robinhood users, So some people love them, some people hate them. It is what it is. But yeah, no doubt this company, even if it did have a longer sideways period here, or even if it needed to come down and correct a little bit, overall, I think this thing definitely goes higher. Wonder if there's some kind of trend here that kind of just comes through all of this. Not really. If anything, maybe you'd be able to say something like that, but nah, currently there's nothing that I'd be trying to put on there myself as far as like a trend. I'd be more interested in, if I had to put something on here, I'd be putting a channel like this on Robinhood to kind of measure volatility. Like if I wanted some way to just visually gauge volatility for Robinhood on a high time frame, on a weekly, I'd look at it through a lens like this. I'd just simply say, look, this thing can come on down, grind the bottom of this channel. If it moves up, it's likely to cool off at about the midpoint. And if it can, like let's assume this thing here, let's assume it goes up, it probably grinds here. But if it can flip that midpoint, then it's likely to come up to the upper quarter of the entire thing for sure. But yeah, this is how I'd look at it on a super high time frame. If we zoom in a little bit more on Robinhood, like on the lower time frames here, you could probably do the same here. Probably do the same thing here. Just put a channel on all this. You could also do like a bearish channel if you wanted here as well, something like that. And then just this will probably allow you to kind of gauge potential downside. Right now, above the top half of a channel, you kind of expect continuation. Bottom half, you're cooling off a little bit more. But it doesn't look bad. Does not look bad. Can it correct a little bit? Sure. Right? We have that monthly range, like we were saying. It could come down to that monthly range. The hood looks good. I like hood. And I forgot we put all these drawings on here. I need to create another layout. Shout out to Goat for that, but I need to probably make another layout separate just for streaming, because I don't have to be cleaning everything up and hiding stuff and just a bunch of work, bunch of extra work, man. Bunch of extra work when you're just streaming versus the stuff you do for yourself or somewhere else. Let's see here. By the way, we are going to jump to the Trader Talk space here in about 5 minutes. We're going to move over to the Trader Talk space here in about 5 minutes, which will be just live on the Wolf Bitcoin X account. If you're not on X and you enjoy audio content, kind of like think of it as like talk radio, right? If you're not familiar with spaces, think of it as like talk radio. If you want to go check that out, go to X, go to the Wolf Bitcoin account, Wolf_Bitcoin_, and then you can jump in and listen to that. But we do a Trader Talk space every single day, Monday through Friday, and we even co-host one on Sundays with one of the brand partners. But pretty much every single day there's some type of conversation around trading, so you guys go check that out. Make sure you're following Wolf Bitcoin, by the way. Follow Wolf Bitcoin on X, follow Wolf Bitcoin on YouTube. If you're on X and you've not been to YouTube, go to YouTube, look up Wolf Bitcoin, subscribe, right? Subscribe, turn on notifications. And look, if something ever happens, there's been a bunch of accounts that are seeing some issues as of recently. And I think we've learned, I think history has told us that it's always smart to make sure that your audience and your community can find you somewhere else in the event that one of these platforms goes down or is having some kind of issue, right? They're getting attacked and anything can happen. So if you're not following Wolf Bitcoin on YouTube, go do that. Take a second here after we wrap up or on another device, go pull it up, give Wolf Bitcoin a sub, tune into these streams over there, give them a little thumbs up over there. A lot of people prefer to watch streaming content on YouTube anyway. So we're live on both. We stream to both of them at the same time. So you guys can watch on your preferred platform. Guys, we're going to keep it pretty simple today. It's the start of the week. You guys know that usually Mondays we don't give like really hard, strong takes because Mondays that's kind of when I'm still just getting my foot back in the door and into the markets here. So look at that. Weren't we just talking about that? That likely that was just a little deviation here. But again, I don't know here, based on this current price action, that we necessarily need to come down here right away. So far, this is still trending higher. This could just cool off a little bit and then continue higher. So the hedge was just in case things broke down and less so trying to nail a short, right? Like I don't care to be super short on Bitcoin right now. I think it trades into the 70s. So really the only reason to hedge is in case something catastrophic happens and we roll over. Less so because I'm trying to nail a massive short on BTC. I don't want to be on the other side of the strength. Strength currently is to the upside. I think we let Bitcoin do its thing. We let it trade higher. I can tell you right now, the short that you do want is significantly higher. The short that you do want, if you want a juicy short position, we need price to go higher. Why? Because we want to short highs and we want to long lows, right? The shorts are after big rallies. Shorts are going to be after big rallies, right? Those are the shorts that we want. Trying to short from the bottom is foolish. And I see it every single time. Unfortunately, people do it. It's foolish. People are shorting after a big drop, thinking it's going to go lower. Very, very risky. Doesn't make any sense in my opinion. And then there's a lot of people that will try and short the entire rally up instead of just waiting for the rally to finish. Right? There's people that were started shorting way down here, and they shorted here, shorted here, shorted here. This whole time shorted it. By the time it got to the top of the last range, they finally said, "Okay, never mind. This thing looks bullish. I'm going to max long it up here," and then that's when it flips. Right? That's exactly what you need. You need the people that are trying to short this thing to get tired and decide that they want to go max long. And then that's where the market finally says, okay, we're going to go the other way now. So we're not there yet. In my opinion, this still has juice to squeeze and work its way up there. Then at some point, there will be a very delicious, juicy short, but that time is just not here yet. So fellas and ladies, with that, we're going to wrap up this Monday segment here, and we're going to jump over to the live trader and market talk discussion on Spaces. So with that, appreciate you guys. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll have another one of these shows. So we'll see you guys back here tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern. But right now, let's look, I'd invite you guys, come jump over with us to X and let's get on these spaces. We've got trader talk discussion starting in a couple minutes here. Actually starting now. It's probably starting now. And then we'll have another one tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern. And then we'll be back here at 4 p.m. Tomorrow for another one of these live streams. So with that, guys, appreciate all of you. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for hanging out. Yo, what's up, Enrique? You're a little bit late, man. We're about to go to the spaces. We're jumping over to spaces. But appreciate all of you guys. And shout out again to public.com/wolf is where you can go find Public and learn a little bit more about them. Yo, and bye, he says. But you can go check out the sponsor of the show and just support these companies, these brands, these partners that are supporting our content creation efforts here. So, all right, guys, with that, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you on the Trader Talk, and we'll be back tomorrow with more content. Peace.